St Joan is a play by George Bernard Shaw that debuted in 1923, focusing on the historical figure Joan of Arc, who was canonized as a Catholic saint in 1920. The play was well received, leading to Shaw being honored with the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1925. In the preface, Shaw juxtaposes the medieval era with contemporary culture and presents Joan as an early nationalist and Protestant reformer. The play is structured into 6 scenes depicting Joan's life and an epilogue exploring her legacy post her condemnation and execution in 1431. Shaw portrays Joan as a rational and extraordinary individual, drawing parallels between her persecution and the challenges faced by figures like Socrates and Napoleon. Shaw suggests that Joan's visions were a product of her vivid imagination, treating them as the creative visualizations of a brilliant military strategist. The preface argues that Joan anticipated ideological developments, showcasing her nationalism and defiance of clerical authority akin to early Protestant reformers. While set in medieval times, Shaw's preface draws comparisons between 1920s Britain and America with 15th century France, challenging perceptions of medieval Christianity and contemporary medical science. Shaw contends that those who condemned Joan were not villains, but individuals with good intentions, making the play a tragedy for modern audiences by highlighting society's limitations and the tendency to condemn innovative thinkers. The opening scene of St Joan unfolds at Robert de Baudricourt's residence in 1429. Baudricourt reprimands his steward for the lack of egg production, which the steward attributes to the presence of Joan, a maiden at the castle believed to possess supernatural powers. Despite initial skepticism, Baudricourt notices Joan's uplifting effect on his men and agrees to her request for soldiers and armor to meet Charles VII, the Dauphin, and counter the English occupation of Orléans. As Joan departs with her provisions, the steward reports a sudden return of egg-laying hens, reinforcing Baudricourt's belief in Joan's divine connection. In the subsequent scene, Joan arrives at the Dauphin's court, revealing a ruler burdened by debt and lacking assertiveness. Courtiers, including the Archbishop of Reims, Lord Chamberlain La Tremouille, Gilles de Rice, and Captain La Hire, gather to discuss Joan's arrival. Charles VII, seeking validation of his royal lineage, welcomes Joan, hoping her presence will bolster his authority. Uninterested in military matters, he allows Joan to take charge of the army and proposes her coronation at Reims Cathedral. Despite a deceptive attempt to disguise the Dauphin, Joan's astuteness exposes the truth, earning her respect even from the skeptical archbishop. In the third scene set in Orléans, the French commander Jean de Dunois anxiously awaits a change in wind direction to transport artillery across the river. As Dunois waits with his page, attempting to compose poetry to the wind, a blue kingfisher catches the page's attention. Joan of Arc arrives with her troops, urging Dunois to initiate the battle and showcasing a blend of courage and tactical acumen that impresses him. Despite her fervor, Dunois insists that the retaking of Orléans hinges on favorable winds to move the gunboats. Eager for action, Joan promises to pray for a wind, leading to an immediate change in direction. In Scene 4, the focus shifts to the English perspective. The Earl of Warwick and Chaplain John de Stigumber debate Joan's victories, questioning whether they stem from sorcery. Warwick dismisses her as a threat to be executed once captured by the Burgundian army. Each man interprets Joan's danger through the lens of his vested power structures, with Stigumber fearing her as a witch threatening English interests and the Bishop of Beauvais, Pierre Cauchon, branding her a heretic challenging church authority. Cauchon argues for mercy, advocating for Joan's redemption rather than her demise, while Warwick sees her as a risk to feudal aristocracy due to her support for divine monarchy. Despite differing views, they unanimously agree on the need to halt her. Scene 5 unfolds at Charles VII's coronation, where Joan questions her unpopularity among courtiers, despite her victorious military leadership. Dunois explains that her competence exposes their inadequacies, fueling their envy. Joan aims to reclaim Paris, while Charles VII opts for peace negotiations. Warned about arrogance by the Archbishop, Joan remains steadfast in her belief that her strategies are divinely inspired. Despite warnings of potential capture and abandonment, Joan's faith in God and the common people compels her to continue the fight, emphasizing her unwavering resolve. In Scene 6, Joan of Arc faces trial after being captured by the English. Cauchon presses her to renounce her beliefs deemed heretical, while Stigumber insists on her execution. Joan maintains that the voices guiding her are divine, rejecting church authority and leading to her excommunication and sentence to be burned at the stake. Realizing her impending death, Joan questions the origin of the voices, ultimately choosing to adhere to her original testimony over a life of imprisonment. As she is led to the stake, Stigumber, who fervently sought her conviction, returns from the execution disturbed and fearful of damnation for his role. Warwick orders his restraint, pondering the legacy of Joan of Arc. The epilogue, set in 1456, reveals King Charles VII dreaming of Joan's apparition, accompanied by other characters from the play. A soldier from hell, who gave Joan a makeshift cross, appears, granted respite on the anniversary of her death for his act of kindness. A cleric from 1920 announces Joan's canonization, prompting the men to pledge allegiance to her. When Joan hints at a potential miraculous return as a saint, the men balk, offering excuses to depart. The English soldier remains, but is abruptly summoned back to hell, before clarifying his actions. Joan questions when the world will embrace a living saint rather than solely a martyr after death. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.